Welcome to this week's episode of the Rangeless Travel Podcast. We're your favorite adventure travel couple. I'm Britt and my partner Ryan, and every Tuesday we share stories and tips to help inspire you to book that next trip. This week we are taking a deep dive to Vietnam, sharing everything you need to know before you go, as well as some of the stories and our favorite memories from our times traveling through Vietnam. If you are not watching on our YouTube channel at Rangeless_ and you're listening to us on Spotify, over on YouTube, we are finishing up our vlog series where we traveled through Vietnam for a month on motorbike. So we thought it was the perfect time to dive a little bit deeper and share some of the information while it's still fresh in our brain. Let's dive right in. Visas. Now, we are traveling on a U.S. visa, or a U.S. passport, and Ryan travels
on an Irish passport.
Yeah, so if
European Union.
Yeah, now, most people need a visa to go to Vietnam, but I know there are some European countries and some Asian countries that don't need a visa to go to Vietnam.
Yeah.
So just make sure to check their official website. We'll link it down below so you know exactly what your country needs. But we're talking from the perspective of the passports we're traveling on.
Right. Vietnam, the start of this year, they announced a new 90-day travel visa, which is great news. We traveled on a 30-day visa, and we found it a little bit restricting.
Yeah.
90 days, there's two price points. It's $25 for single entry or $50 for multiple entries if you want to pop in and out of Laos or Cambodia. Mm-hmm. That's really helpful.
And then you can also do visa runs. Like I've done a visa run before, but I didn't actually do it. So in Vietnam, you can have someone, this is so sketchy, but like everyone does it. You literally give your passport to someone at your hostel or your accommodation. They bring it to wherever, and then like you get it back a couple days later. Okay, so if that's what you want to do and you don't want to actually do the visa run, but you know you need an extension on your visa, you can get one. I would give yourself at least a week to sort it all out because it takes a while and it's pretty nerve-wracking. And when you go to look on how to do it, just book a social hostel or book a party hostel, some sort of social hostel accommodation for a couple of reasons. First, I'm pretty convinced you'll never have an original experience in all of life. It's because all the backpackers there, a lot of them are going to be doing the same thing as you, or they have done the same thing as you.
Right.
So they're going to be able to tell you who they used and like what happened and what have you, as well as
the staff
there will help you.
Yeah,
so that's what I did. I needed an extension. So I spent literally a month. My first month in Vietnam, I just spent in North Vietnam. I spent an entire month there. I didn't even do the Ha Giang Loop. I did Hanoi, Sapa, Kappa, which is Ha Long Bay, and back to Hanoi. And I spent a lot of time in Hanoi. I love it there. And then I went to the staff at the accommodation and was like, I'm going to motorbike Vietnam now. I'm going to need a whole month to do that. Mm-hmm. How do I extend my visa? And they were like, oh, just give us your passport. It was one of the scariest things ever.
Were you the only person doing it at that time?
No. They had a whole stack of them. Like, almost everyone in the hostel was doing the same exact thing. So it wasn't that big of a deal because everyone was doing the same thing. So I handed over my passport. It took I gave them my passport. I left. I went to Sapa for a few days, came back, and it was ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, like, that's great, but you don't need to do that anymore because now you can get a 90-day visa.
Yes, you can get a 90-day visa. But if you don't get the 90-day visa...
yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I would just get the 90-day visa.
But if you're applying for a visa, you have to do it in advance of getting there, obviously. It's an e-visa. You do it online. It says 5 to 7 business days online recommended. I would say minimum 2 weeks in advance. Get that. We actually struggled. We were a little bit caught for time. Ours came through like 2 days before we left because we did it around Christmas time and there was a whole bunch of stuff like Christmas time, New Year's, all of that was going on. And we got held up and delayed by applying for the visa, but luckily it came through a couple days in advance of us getting there.
Yeah, so it wasn't.
But we cut it too close. I would say go 2 weeks.
Everyone has that similar story
Yeah.
with Vietnam. Like their visas are so close.
There's also like quotas from different countries there.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people from different countries, they'll be rejected for the visa because they've already hit the quota for the amount of people from that country.
I've heard a couple backpackers who are French say that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because France used to be a colony. Every time I go there, there's so many French people there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I've heard a couple of backpackers who travel on a French passport say that they were rejected, that they already like met the quota.
Yeah.
Now, before you go, to fill out the form, you do have to tell them where and when you're entering and where and when you're exiting. You can't just show up at any checkpoint. Like if you're traveling by land, like you have to come in by land. You cannot book a last minute flight in. They won't let you in because you're at the wrong
port of entry.
Yeah, you're at the wrong port of entry. And same when you're leaving.
Yeah.
You have to leave through the correct port of exit.
Right.
So those are just things to keep in mind. And that's why some people wait till the last minute because they're like, oh, I don't know where I want to leave from. Or I don't know how far I'm going to get. You have to know to get the visa.
Mm. Anyways, once you get into Vietnam, first thing you want to sort out is money. So money exchange. You can do it at the airport. There's a bunch of places in the cities too, and most villages and places have a place where you can exchange money. Any bigger towns and cities have it.
Most people are not showing up there with money to exchange. First and foremost, most people are showing up there with their debit card.
Yeah.
There are ATMs in all of the big cities. In the remote cities, they are not going to have them. They also are a cash-based society, so most places are not going to accept your card. So you need to be walking around with cash. So you want to make sure that there's money in, or at least your banking apps are downloaded and ready to go so that you can transfer money to and from, because I would not keep a lot in your debit account. No. Because when you go to use the ATMs, God forbid a card is skimmed, which I've had happen before.
Yeah.
Money can be taken out of your account, and once the money's gone, it's gone. It's hard to get it back. Like you're able to fight it with the bank, but the money's gone, so the bank doesn't have to give it back to you.
It's safer to use a credit card if you can.
Yeah, but this is ATM. So we're talking about ATMs.
So you can't even do that.
So one of the things I do is I don't keep that much money in the account. I'll have a savings account and then a debit account. And I have it from 2 separate banks, which gives me 2 separate bank cards, which is like a level of protection. So if one card gets
skimmed or
compromised in some way, or lost or forgotten in the ATM, or eaten by the ATM, or there's 100 things that could go wrong.
You're not stuck.
I'm not stuck. Like I'll still have the other one, which didn't help me when it happened to me in Indonesia, but I did my best. So you want to have, I would say, 2 debit accounts set up, and then you need an account attached to them.
Right.
Or some sort of somewhere that is not directly attached to the card, so you can keep money in there, transfer the money into the account attached to the card, and then take it out.
Right.
Another way you can do that is, I know Chase, you can freeze and unfreeze your cards immediately through the app. So you can freeze your card when you're not using it, and then unfreeze it, go take out money, and then freeze it again. So
that's what I like to do, but you need internet to do that, and reliable internet.
You do, but if you're in the cities,
you could do it in your hostel before on the Wi-Fi, and then just go back and do it later that evening.
I mean, it's never been a problem. In the smaller villages, they're not going to really have ATMs, and that's where you may want to have some emergency cash stacked for an exchange, or just, you never know what could happen, and it's good to have some sort of backup, enough money where you can get a meal, you can get a place to stay, and you can like make it to the airport or the train station or wherever. I travel with a lot of cash, and not like a lot of cash, but I travel with cash because I like to do money exchange. I feel like I get a better rate that way.
Than the ATM fees,
Yeah. But I usually keep like 100 like US dollars hidden from myself somewhere. Like I hide it in like a women's sanitary napkin, like, because I feel like nobody is like gonna steal. Is gonna open up and be like, oh, a
That's
pad.
exactly what I need.
That's what I need right now. So I'll hide money in there. I hide money in like little secret compartments, little secret pockets. I'll like hide money somewhere, and it's usually it's $100 bill. Now, when you are deciding what money to bring, go to your bank and get fresh, crisp. If you're doing U.S. dollars, fresh, crisp, $100 U.S.
No old style hundreds.
No old style hundreds, no dirt, no nothing. They want
Creases, they want it.
No tears. They might
Yeah.
not take it. And if you do smaller denominations of money, sometimes they give you a lower exchange rate.
Yeah.
So with the hundreds, they give you the best exchange rates. No one wants 50s. 20s, they give you a lower rate, and so on and
Yeah,
so
and it's
forth.
quite a bit different. It's like a 5% difference for the 20s.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. So crisp hundreds for
Yeah.
U.S. money if you are going to be traveling. And I would say similar for euros.
Yeah, I would say, 50s probably are the most common.
You think they want 50s for euros?
Yeah,
Oh.
I would imagine.
Oh, I would imagine they wouldn't want 50s for euros because they don't want 50s for U.S. money. So why would they want 50s for euros?
Because hundreds aren't that common in euros.
Oh, I don't know.
They're less common.
Oh, I don't know. Anything else about money?
If you're in the U.S. and you're traveling a lot, a Charles Schwab account is a godsend.
Oh, if you're from the U.S. and you're traveling to Vietnam.
If you're from the U.S. and you're traveling anywhere, Charles Schwab will refund you on your ATM fees while traveling or anywhere.
And they're in online banking.
And they're online, yeah.
So, yeah, that's on our list. But
yeah, we don't have one yet, but we're working on it.
we have a P.O. box for mail, and you have to have a physical address.
Yeah.
So we have some things to work out.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when it comes to exchanging money, you get a better rate than...
That's right. Actually, one time we were in Hanoi, and I was looking on Google for the day's exchange rate, and we were walking along looking for a place to exchange money, and we walked past a place that had a better rate
than the daily exchange rate.
Than what Google was saying by quite a bit. It was like, I think we saved about $3 or $4 that day for doing that.
Yeah, and when you're in Vietnam, when the prices are low, the $3 or $4 is like the day's worth of food.
Yeah, that's food. Yeah, that's like 2 meals.
Yeah.
For each of us, and that was great. That I don't know why it was that way, but it just was. So we went with it, and we didn't say anything.
The exchange rate at the airport's not always the best, but you do want to have some cash on you when you leave the airport, so you can pay a driver, so you can pay for the bus. You can get a meal when you get there. You can find your way around the next morning.
Yeah, so you change like $20 at the airport.
I usually change because we're typically staying for longer. I usually change about $100 at the airport, and then I will change whatever else I need when I get to where I'm going.
Right.
Which first stop in a country is typically a bigger city, so I have no problem. When you get to the smaller places, you have to check in the villages because a lot of times they will not have a money exchange. So get all the money and all the cash you're gonna need before you leave the big city to go into the more remote villages. How do we get to the remote villages in Vietnam, you ask? Transportation. So your main form of transportation is going to be buses, trains, and motorbike.
Yeah. Buses, if you don't want to use the motorbikes, if you're nervous about it, there is the option of buses. Most people use the night buses because you don't lose a day traveling. And you can sleep on them. And
you save the money from the accommodation that night. They are very affordable. They range anywhere from a few dollars to like $20, $25. There's also different levels of them. They are sleeper buses as well. So if you are very tall, these are going to be absolutely a nightmare for you. If you are a shorter person, you will probably fit in there just fine, but they are not fun. Every backpacker I know has like horror stories of sleeper buses. I took sleeper buses around North Vietnam the first time I was there, and I was on one. It was just infested with cockroaches. Like there were cockroaches crawling everywhere. Like I couldn't sleep because there were cockroaches on me, and like it was a nightmare. They also have like some more higher end VIP sleeper buses that you can get them in different themes. Like I've seen Hello Kitty themed sleeper buses. So there's lots of different options as far as sleeper buses go if you don't want to ride a motorbike. Now, there's also trains.
Yeah.
The trains aren't too extensive because
They pretty much just go from north to south along the coast.
And then you can go up by like Sapa.
Yeah, and it splits at Hanoi and goes like northwest and northeast up to like Sapa and Ha Long Bay area.
And if you get a motorbike and then you are feeling a little uncomfortable or you need to make up some time, you can put your motorbike on the train to get to where you're going.
Yes. We didn't do that, but we had the option.
Yeah. Motorbikes, our favorite form of transportation.
Yes. You can get motorbikes. There's rental companies, or you can buy one. We rented from Style.
There's literally 2 rental companies.
There's Style and Tidget.
Yeah.
And they're both based in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, so you can get them in either one.
I've used Style now twice. We are not sponsored by them in any way. We are not affiliated with them, but
we're very, very happy with their service.
Yeah, I've had great experiences with them both times I used them. So I would recommend if you're looking to rent a motorbike, do it from Style. If you are looking to buy a motorbike, just show up and stay in a hostel.
Yeah.
Because there is going to be someone selling them. I've seen them sold for as low as like the equivalent of like $200 and upwards from there.
I think 200 to 400 is pretty much where
standard.
You want to be around. They're not. If you're buying a motorbike, it's not going to be in good condition. It's going to be used by probably 20 backpackers before you got there, and you're going to sell it to another 20 backpackers after you're gone. The Style bikes are kept in good condition.
Yeah, they service them.
They service them all the time. They cost anywhere between like $150 was the lowest a month, and mine was $250. I think.
Yeah, he had to get the fancy.
I got a fancier one, a little bit fancier, but I didn't go all the way fancy. You have to pay a cash deposit, which was $400 for your bike, $500 for mine. So you have to budget for the cash deposit when you get there. You do get it back, provided there's no damage to the bike. I had a little bit of damage on mine. It cost me $7. So
yeah, the people there are good. They're not trying to just like rip you off if something is wrong. Repairs in Vietnam are really affordable and easy to find. There's mechanics everywhere. So if riding a motorbike is something that you're thinking about but you're nervous, don't be. There are mechanics everywhere, and to get a bike fixed, you don't need to speak the same language because you're looking at the same things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think we got your bike welded back together. Your wing mirror was falling off. We had to get it welded back on. We got both the bikes serviced, the brakes checked, and all of that for, it was like $15 or something like that.
Yeah, and that was high.
And that was high.
It was high.
But it was a Sunday on a holiday weekend.
Yeah,
and there was nowhere else open, so, you know.
Yeah, we were just happy to find someone. We had a hard time finding someone that could weld. Before you go as well, you want to make sure, because taxis and Grab.
Yeah, so the thing, taxis, Grab is the big one for like getting taxis. It's an app that kind of does everything.
It's like Uber. Grab is just like Uber. They have Grab
It's like Uber, but it's also Uber Eats, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same as Uber.
Yeah, or even, I think they do groceries too and all that. I'm not sure. There's just everything.
It's the same as Uber. It's Grab. It's the same as Uber.
It's great. You want to download that when you get there straight away. And because there's other taxis that make themselves look like a Grab taxi. They're like styled the same way. And they will try and rip you off as soon as you get in. They'll try and negotiate. And then when you get there, it's suddenly a different price and all of this because they know you're a tourist. You want to use the Grab app. That way you know you're not going to get taken advantage of.
Yes. And if you're taking any form of like random transportation, like if you're getting into just a taxi on the side of the road or some sort of like tuk-tuk type situation, always just make sure you agree on a price
before you go
beforehand.
Yeah.
Let them know where you want to go, agree on a price beforehand. Don't fall for some of the tricks that are like, oh no, just take us to a good spot, because sometimes they'll take you all the way out of town and
to their
ask
cousin's place.
No, what happens is they'll take you all the way out of town. They ask for money, and then they won't bring you back to town until you pay it, and it might be like hundreds of dollars. Like it's not a small thing they do. It's like a very big thing. It can be a little bit dangerous. It can be something that's scary. So that's why the Grab apps really it makes it easy, and it's kind of like, okay, well, this is my driver's name. This is where it is. It gives it a regulation. So just have them keep it on. If you take a taxi, have them put the meter on. Just like anywhere else, have them put the meter on. And if they don't have a meter and it's like a less regulated form of transportation, just agree on a price. Just agree on a price before you go, and you'll be good to go. But download that Grab app. I would say download it before you even get there.
Yeah, speaking of Grab app, there's a bunch of
There's other apps
that you should get either when you first get there or before you get there.
Download all the apps before you go. Wi-Fi is great, but it's not going to be as fast as what it is when you're like on your home plan with your home everything. Just download the apps before you go. Download the apps before you go. Make sure there's space on your phone. You're going to want, if you're from the U.S., you're going to want to make sure your Venmo and your Cash app is downloaded and updated. If you have a iPad, download it and update it on the iPad too, because you cannot download them and you cannot update them outside of the US. And going back, if something were to happen to your debit card or you lose it, it gets stolen, whatever, you'll want to be able to find another American and say, hey, I'll Venmo you X amount of money if you can pull it out of the ATM for me. That sounds weird. That sounds cringy. It's normal. It's annoying. Yes. Do people want to do it for you? No. But will they? Absolutely. It's not that big of a deal.
You travel for long enough, you're going to see someone asking someone else for it.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But you want to make sure you have the app so you have that as a safeguard. Yeah. It also just makes it easy for things like...
Or if you're from Europe, you could use Revolut. That's the alternative option for Europeans, Other than that, Google Maps.
Google Maps and Maps.
And download the map.
And Maps.me.
Onto your phone. So that way, when you don't have reliable data on your phone, you can still navigate. Maps.me is an Asian sort of version of that. And that is sometimes got a little bit more details. Like it had waypoints on the Ha Giang Loop for us that we didn't have on Google Maps. That was helpful for us. I found it helpful, at least. Also, Google Translate. You want to download the Vietnamese language into your language.
So then you can use it offline, which is the big thing. So if you're traveling through, it's helped us when getting bikes fixed at mechanics.
Right.
Because yes, we're looking at the same thing so they can see, but it lets you communicate back and forth and agree on a price and know what to expect before they start just like pulling your bike apart or whatever. You're also going to want apps to help book your accommodation. So you're going to want Agoda, Booking.com, and Hostelworld. I think the best deals are on Booking.com.
Yeah, I think so.
But it's good to have all three because sometimes there's better deals on one than the other. And you can also like cross-reference them to see if you're in a really remote place. It helps because it gives you more places to potentially find. And I know we ran into that once or twice where it was like we couldn't find anywhere to stay. So to have the safeguard of being able to pull up 3 different apps that potentially had different options was fantastic. I know that if you use one a lot. I use Booking.com as my number one that I use. I find the best deals on it. You also get like kind of like little bits of kickbacks, like you get free breakfast or room upgrades and things like that the more you use it. But to get the best deal is you find the accommodation on Booking or Agoda or whatever app or internet you're using. You email them, message them on social media directly, and ask for a booking. And a lot of times you can negotiate a better rate. Yeah. At least in Vietnam, you can do that. And my last app that I use is Lounge Buddy. This is not the best app. This app needs updating so bad, but it helps in airports because you can download it and then it tells you where all the lounges are and how much it costs to get in. So in the States, a lot of times we think about lounges as being like uber expensive, but in Vietnam, the lounges are not as expensive. So we had a really long layover in Ho Chi Minh City that was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
I think it was like 6 hours and it was $40 to go into the lounge and that's all you can eat, all you can drink, you can hang out, you have your own Wi-Fi, there's bathrooms. So it was really nice option.
And to put that into perspective, a sandwich alone outside of the lounge cost $13 in Ho Chi Minh City Airport.
Yeah, so it just was a better option for us. But we were able to find that because I had the lounge app and then I could search all the lounges in the airport.
You were in. Yeah.
So how long should you stay in Vietnam?
Vietnam, I think a minimum of 2 weeks to really like get into things, you need a minimum of
And
2
I know
weeks.
that can be a lot.
Yeah.
But when you start taking into consideration if you're traveling from pretty far away and the time difference, you're going to need like 2 days to travel in, then it's going to be like a day to get back. Then, because I mean, I think our flight was like 36 hours
Something
to get
crazy,
in,
yeah.
and you're a 12-hour time difference, so you're jet lagged, and it's just better to be able to fully enjoy it. I think you need a minimum of 2 weeks, and then stay
for as long,
as long as you 90-day visa. And say
the dream,
90,
huh?
yeah, the 2 weeks to a 90-day visa. But I think a 2-week minimum.
Yeah.
If you have less than 2 weeks, you could still try to go, especially if you're going from somewhere like Australia where...
If it's closer, like a less duration of a flight, you could cut that down a little bit. And also if you don't plan on doing like a bunch of different locations within the country.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to go to Hanoi and do a couple day trips out of there, you could probably get away with a week.
Yeah. Well, I would say, I mean, Vietnam in general is broken into like 3 pretty distinct sections.
areas,
So you're
yeah.
thinking the north, the central, and the south.
Yeah.
So if you're going into North Vietnam, you're looking for nature. You're looking for like smaller minority groups. You're looking for culture. You're looking for those things that you have literally never seen before.
Yeah, like those amazing landscapes that you see on the nature documentaries.
Yeah.
Like you're looking for just adventure up in the north, like remote villages.
Yeah, that's if you're
Yeah.
thinking about going to Vietnam and those are the kind of things you want, then you want to go to North Vietnam. You want to go to Hanoi, spend a few days there, get like the culture, the street food, beer street, night markets,
Yeah.
museums. They have great museums. Water puppet show, that was really fun and cool. You want to go up to go like trekking in Sapa, and there's a bunch of different like minority groups up there, so they have different cultures, different languages, different customs, different clothes, different jewelry, dancing, music. Go up to Sapa, do some trekking, and hang out up there for a while. You can't go to North Vietnam and to stay any length of time and not do Ha Long Bay. So you go over to Kappa, you do Ha Long Bay. That is like the famous big limestone rock faces sticking out of the water. You do the cruise on there. There's also Kappa is like the island by it. That's where the cruises take off from. So you can explore the island. It's really cool up there as well. It's different culture and everything from pretty much it's its own entity. And Ryan's favorite, the Ha Giang Loop.
Yeah. That I would budget like 3 to 5 days there, but
At least.
If you can do more, do more. But I loved it so much.
So you can ride on your own motorbike, or if you don't feel comfortable driving yourself, you can do an easy rider. So you book with
where you're on the back of someone else riding for you.
Yeah, you book with a tour group, and a local will drive the bike, and you are along for the ride. Up there's also places like the waterfalls.
Yeah, the Ban Giok waterfalls on the border with China. There's the Dong Van Plateau, which is
that Dong Van Plateau.
up in the mountains, this flat region with rice paddies and mountains sticking up out of them. It's so cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's similar to Ha Long Bay, but like on land.
Yeah, that's what they call Ninh Binh, but I think this is far more impressive.
It was really pretty. Now, those would be like my top things in
the north.
Then we can move on to Central.
Central is really set up to be tourist central. Like
it's super
made
tourist.
for tourists.
Yeah.
Like whether you want to go to Phang Na, where you get all the adventure tourism, like the cave exploration, the hiking in the jungle.
That's where the biggest cave in the world is.
Yeah,
like
Dong
all of
Van
Manhattan can fit inside of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's also fun things to do, like the duck stop or the bar with cold beer. Mm-hmm. Like.
Or if you like history, that's a really cool place to go to, because you can still see the effects of the American and Vietnam War there, because it was very heavily bombed.
A lot of craters.
Yeah, so if you're really into like historical wars and like learning about history and like getting to see that firsthand, that might be a spot that you'd want to go to as well for that.
Yeah, there's also Hue, where they have the abandoned water park.
Mm-hmm. The Imperial City. They have the night market along the river.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
Hoi An,
yeah, where you did the lanterns out in the river, the fishermen out in the traditional boats, all the night market, all the nightlife, the crafts like the tailors, all of that. It's all there in Hoi An. And Danang is really, really good seafood.
Yeah, Danang's the beaches, the Hai Van Path that you have to ride a motorcycle if you're gonna go and do that.
Yeah, you can actually just rent for that. You can get a motorbike from either Hue or Danang and rent for, I think it's $22. It's kind of expensive, but you can just get a motorbike just for that and rent it for the day and bring it back.
Yeah. There's also Monkey Mountain out there.
Which is really cool. I really love Monkey Mountain because it was my first time seeing wild monkeys in the wild.
If you want to see that, I have a video of Ryan.
Looking back now, after I've been to so many places where there's literally thousands of monkeys, like that you have to watch your bags and don't let them steal your phone or your sunglasses or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not as like, wow. But for me, the first time, and if you haven't seen monkeys before, I would suggest to go.
Yeah.
They're a lot more shy there. They're less aggressive than in other places. I loved it.
Moving into South Vietnam, this is where you're going to find a lot of like metropolitan area. You're going to find nightlife, but you're also going to find like beaches and sandboarding and sand dunes and yoga and like the Mekong Delta.
Yeah.
So again, you can get a little bit of everything down there. So thinking like Ho Chi Minh City is super metropolitan, really modern city. If you like nightlife and you want to go like dancing and drinking and having like a really good time there, Ho Chi Minh is what you're looking for. If you're looking for like floating markets and culture, and again, like unique cultural experiences, the Mekong Delta. Also, if you like history and you want to learn more about what it was like during war times there down in Ho Chi Minh and down in the Mekong Delta, there was a lot of activity. So there's a lot of historical significance down there that you can go and learn about and get that kind of like, I don't know, like closer hands-on learning. There's also Muni.
Yeah, which is the beaches.
We didn't go. But it's beaches and there's sand dunes and there's supposed to be like a really vibrant yoga community down there with a lot of expats. So if you're looking into something like that, that could be a good option.
We've heard really good things about there. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of budget, each area is like in the north is a lot more affordable than in the south, and then it gradually gets more. This is like on average. It gradually.
It's not a lot more expensive in the south. I mean, in the north than it. I mean, okay, it's not a lot more expensive in the south than it is the north. No, it's just a little bit. So as you're traveling down, things are going to get a little bit more expensive. If you think about it, you're going into more city areas. Right. So when you're in the north, like yes, Hanoi is a big city, but it's an old city. Yeah. So it's kind of like a sprawling city and things like that. And then you're going out into these small villages. Things are going to be very affordable. But then as you go south, it gets more touristy. It's made up more for tourists and more and more and more. And then you go from it being made into tourists to these big metropolitan cities. So it just gradually gets more expensive. It is still very affordable, but it definitely gets more expensive as you're going. I think you could do it if we're looking at it for a month, budget-wise. $800 bottom budget and up, not including flights.
Not including flights, yeah. And $800 is going to be like a little bit more on the budget side of things because
it's going to be completely on the budget side.
Yeah, you're going to be able to afford to get around. You're going to be able to afford to eat, and you're going to be able to afford a place to stay. But any of the more unique experiences, you're going to have to skip because you're not going to have.
You're staying in a hostel. You're eating street food and banh for every meal.
And you're walking around exploring.
But you're there.
Yeah,
you're there. Mm-hmm. We did it for not much more than that, and we did it fantastic.
For both of us,
for both of us, for the whole month, not including our flights, was $1,962.
Yes.
After we got back our deposits from the bike.
Yes.
So we did it not much more than the $800 a month, and I don't think we missed a thing. We did everything.
No, but we have an extra $300 there in that budget, and there's two of us, so you get to save a little bit when you're traveling in it as a couple.
Yeah. But I thought that was good.
I think that was a good price point to aim for,
Yeah, I would say if you're just going and you want to experience everything and do everything and you don't want to have to hold back, but you still want to travel on a budget, $1,000 a month for Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So then, the food is
Ryan's favorite part about
amazing.
Vietnam is the food. When we were talking before, he was literally like, food, yes, food, the food. I'd go right now there and eat. Let's go eat food.
I love the food in Vietnam. Like, everyone knows pho. Everyone knows, like, banh mi's.
But there's so much more.
There's so much more.
There's so much more than that. Now, the only thing with Vietnam, and anywhere really in general, is you just want to make sure, because you are going to be eating a lot of street food, so you want to make sure it's fresh. If it doesn't look fresh, it's not worth it.
No.
Go somewhere else. There are literally places to eat everywhere.
Yeah.
Don't worry about finding a place. You'll find one. Eat fresh.
Yeah, you can't miss them. There's signs everywhere. These little plastic signs on the side of the road, like the food. Our method that we found on the motorbikes of finding good food was we would drive past and see a bunch of bikes parked outside of a place, and this backfired on us 2 times.
More than twice. It backfired us on the daily, multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple times a day.
And we would accidentally end up at a mechanic's because there'd be a bunch of bikes outside.
Yeah, because there'd be like one dude working on a bike and then 15, 20 bikes parked outside and be like, ooh,
that
there's
looks like
so
good food.
many bikes there. That must be great food. And we'd pull up and we'd be like, mechanic shop.
Yeah.
But lucky for us, there's usually a restaurant right by a mechanic shop because...
But the thing is, you find a bunch of bikes outside a restaurant, it's a good restaurant. And the thing with Vietnam is, it's not just tourists eating out. It's not just like rich people eating out. It's everybody eats out because it's so affordable to eat.
Well, there's a huge food culture, but there's also like a huge street food culture. So because there's such a huge street food culture, there's so much of it, and it keeps...
It's literally more affordable to eat out than to cook your own food.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
So what are some things that people should look out for and eat?
I think if you're in Hoi An, you should keep an eye out for Khao Lao. Which
that's
is
like your favorite
those
thing.
Special noodles. They're extra chewy, and like they take the bark off a tree and they burn it and they use the ash for that, and they put it in a special water from a well, and it makes
only one well.
Only one special well, and it just makes these extra chewy noodles that are like really, really good in texture, and they're like super yellow, but they're really, really, I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple favorite.
Yeah.
So some of my favorite dishes, bun cha is one of my favorite dishes.
Yeah.
It's the dish, if you watch Anthony Bourdain, it's the dish that Obama and Anthony Bourdain shared. But that restaurant is good. But it's not necessarily my favorite bun cha. Bun cha is barbecued pork, rice noodles, and then this like vinegary broth, and then a pile of herbs. So you kind of take a little bit of everything, dip it in this like vinegary broth mixture, and then eat it. It's delicious. I love bun cha. Another one of my favorite is banzio.
Oh yeah.
I love banzio. So it's a crispy rice crepe pancake situation, and there could be pork and bean sprouts and shrimp and other things like in the crispy crisp. And then you get like big thing of it, and you take pieces and you wrap it with herbs and rice paper, and then you dip it in this peanut liver sauce. Listen, that sounds questionable.
It does.
But it's so, and I don't like liver, but it's so good. I love it. It's one of my favorite banzio.
Yeah, and then if you're in the north, you can get Bao Buns, which are actually Chinese, but they are really, really good up in the north. And it's like, it's a steamed bun, like a steamed pastry with a filling in the inside, like meat.
It's savory.
But it's really savory, but it's so good. It's the texture. It's like eating into a cloud.
Yeah,
it's
there's
so nice.
usually some rice noodles, cabbage, and a hard-boiled egg or a tea egg. There's usually pork in there, and then they put it in this bao, which is it's thick and it's bread. It's very bread-like.
Yeah.
And then it's steamed, and you get it, and it's warm, and it's soft, and it's really good. But they also have all kinds of ones. I remember we had one that was almost like a barbecue. Yeah, it was so good. Meat situation. It was good. It was so good. It was good. Yeah. You think the ones from Trader Joe's is good? No. No. North Vietnam. Go up to North Vietnam and try bao bun.
And also bun oc. It was a snail soup.
Oh yeah, the bun oc. Oc
really
means
good.
snail.
Yeah.
Bun means noodle.
Yeah. And that was so good. We had that up in Hanoi, and I loved it.
Yeah,
and it was my first time trying snails, but it was
first
really,
time trying
really
snails, and it was one of the first little chairs I brought you to. You're still new to the
I'd only been to like 2 or 3 little chairs before that.
Yeah. So when we say little chairs
in
Vietnam, in the street food, they set up chairs and tables, but they're not like the full size chairs and tables. They're like the little one. They're little, like almost like preschool chairs.
Yeah.
Like they're little ones. And you sit on them, but it's how you know they got the good stuff. If they have little plastic chairs, what they got's good.
Yeah.
I will die on that hill. What they got's good. If they got the little chairs, what they got's good.
But out of all of our dining experiences in all of Vietnam, our favorite one has to be when we were driving from Phang Nga to Hue. And it was a long ride, and it was in the middle of the day, and it was during like the holidays or just up coming to the preparations for Tet. So a lot of places were closed.
It was Tet. It was Tet. That day was Tet.
And we went to a restaurant that was open still, luckily, pulled up.
Mm-hmm. And we were adopted.
And we were adopted by
a family
of Vietnamese.
Kim, if you are watching this, we love you.
There was probably a family of like 12 people.
And we didn't know what was going on.
No.
And there was very little English that was being spoken there. And we just kind of went in and we were like, oh, are you open? And the people who had the restaurant were like, because I'm pretty sure they were only open for this one family.
Yeah.
And we were like, and they were like, well, I don't know, yes. Like, it was very hesitant. Yeah. And Kim, who we didn't know her name at the time, but this woman who was in there was like, oh, you can eat with us. Like, are you looking for lunch? It's Tet. Come eat with us.
Yeah.
Come eat with us. And we're like, no, it's okay. She's like, no, come eat with us. And we were like, okay. Like, so we sit down and there's these big like hot pots. So it's this bubbling broth, and you put meat and seafood and noodles and tofu and mushrooms and everything into it.
It was a huge spread. Like the whole table was covered in food. It was amazing.
And Kim was like having us try different things and was like explaining where this stuff comes from. And it was just ended up being it was really cool. It was such a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and we were talking to everyone and all their kids and all that. It was really fun.
It was really fun. We had a great time.
And we even got to try there's a special cake that they have at Tet, and we even got to try that she had.
And it takes like days to make, and it's like steamed.
I think she said her mom made it.
Her mom made it, and it takes like 3 or 4 days to make, and it's a savory cake, and it was just really a special experience. But there's so many special experiences to have in Vietnam. Let's start in the north. So in the north, these are some experiences.
My number one in the north is Ha Giang Loop.
Ha Giang Loop.
Hands down, Ha Giang Loop. It is so amazing. I loved every minute of it.
Trekking in Sapa.
Yeah.
That is like a whole cultural experience and a whole like transformative experience in itself. What else is
also
in there? Ha Long Bay.
Ha Long Bay, yeah. And then the Dang Van Plateau going to the Ban Giek waterfalls is like, wow.
If you're not taking notes, you should just jot this down.
Yeah, like that is worth the detour from the Ha Giang Loop.
Yeah, I would like to go up there and like I don't even know if there's any place to stay up there, but I want to go up there and just spend. That was our best bowl of pho. Was up there. It was also our cheapest bowl of pho. We left, so we were driving through this village, and it was a weekend, so the weekend like morning market, food market was on, and it was packed, and we had previously just been riding. We're in like the middle of nowhere, like it's just fields and rocks and like farms, and all of a sudden we get to this little village, and like it's traffic.
Yeah,
there are hundreds of bikes and scooters, and we're like,
and water buffalo. People driving up their water buffalo to sell them at the market.
Yeah. So and we're starving, And we drive and we get a little bit out of town, and Ryan like pulls over, and I pull behind him, and he was like, do you want to eat? And I was like, I think if we don't eat now, we're not getting to eat. So we need to go turn around and eat there. There was a place back there. Let's go there. And he's like, yes. So we turn around, we pull up. We are the only tourists, and I think we were the only tourists that have ever been there.
I think so. By the way we were getting looks.
Everyone was looking at us so confused. They're like,
what? Are they lost?
How did they get here? Why are they here? What are they doing? And we walk in and we're like, look, and it's this like smell is just so amazing. It's pork and it's barbecued, and then it's like this bubbly broth, and she's just like, and I was like, yes, Two.
It was so good.
She's just holding up her fingers for me because, like, I
think it
English.
worked out to be $1 for both bowls.
That's what it was. I just didn't get there in the story yet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan. So we sit down. It was so good. So there's barbecued, like, suckling pork. It was, like, the crunchiest, most delicious bacon that you've never had, and you can only have it there. And it was so, I'm dreaming about it. I'm literally, like, salivating thinking about it. Rice noodles, perfection. So many bean sprouts. So you just put them all in. It's so good. The broth was amazing. It was such a smoky flavor from whatever they were, like, wood smoking this meat.
Yeah.
We go. Ryan goes and pays. I think I went to the toilet or something. I come back. We get back on the bikes, and Ryan's like, I think she only charged me for one. And I'm like, no. Like, I was like, I looked at her before I left, and she was like, good, like, you're good. And I was like, we paid for both. And he was like, I only paid $1.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, like, we're up in the north. I go, she probably still gave us the tourist tax.
Who knows?
Yeah, like, we were really out.
That place was way off the beaten path. Like, I can't even find it anymore I've tried to find it on Google Maps to put a pin there. I can't find it.
Yeah, it was just...
Yeah.
It was incredible. Yeah, that's the north. That is, if that's what you want to go to the north. If you get motorbikes and just explore the north, and you will just end up places that, like, how did I get here? And everyone there is looking at you like, how did they get here?
In the Midlands,
we made lanterns in Hoi An. That was one of my favorite experiences ever. So much so we carried these lanterns around for like 6 months.
Yeah, we did.
It was like
and
20.
They were not small.
It was like less than $20 a person. It was like a 3-hour class, and it was rainy that day. And we handmade silk Vietnamese traditional lanterns.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. It was a great experience. I loved that.
Then also, you can get in Phang Na, which is also in the Midlands. You can get on the boats that go into the cave, like some of the largest caves in the world. You can go in on the boats, and it's really, really cool. There's also silly things like the duck stop, where you go and you become a duck leader and you get to feed the ducks, and that was a lot of fun.
Where was it where they row with their feet?
That's Ninh Binh.
Ninh Binh.
Which is kind of like in between the north and the Midlands.
It's not quite north, but it's not quite the middle.
Right. And they rode the boats there with their feet.
They also have Mew Caves, which they have little caves there, but it's mostly you climb up to the top, and they have the big dragon on the top.
Yeah, on top of the mountain looking out over the paddy fields.
Yeah, if you want to see, like if you really want to go see the rice fields, go in the spring.
Yeah.
Because we were there a little bit too early. But the time before when I was there was a ton, and I was in the spring.
And also in there's Bich Dong Pagoda, which is in Ninh Binh still, and that's like a temple that's carved into the side of the mountain, and there's all the caves, and you go up and through the caves, and it's all part of the temple. It's really, really cool.
Yeah. Danang, beach.
Yeah, seafood.
Yep.
That's where we got like those really, really good oysters.
Yeah,
that were like
peanuts.
roasted with the peanuts. Oh, they were so good.
When we went and ordered them, I was like, no, we have to get oysters. And he's like, okay. And I was like, no, they got peanuts on them. And he was like, I don't think I want oysters with peanuts. I'm like, no, you do. Yeah. I was very adamant because I had them like a couple years earlier. And I was like, I've been dreaming about them for years. And I will continue to dream about them.
They're so good.
So they get them. And the thing in Danang is all the seafood is kept in these tanks. So you go and you look at the tanks and you pick it out. It has all the bubbles. It's very like fish. It's very like lobster tank, but it's all different stuff. And a lot of it like you have never seen before. Like it's special to Asia. It's Asian seafood. So you go, you pick out your oysters, and then you can get them made different ways. So you get them char grilled. So they put these oysters on the grill. They pop open, and then once they're open, they season them with some sort of like ponzu-y, citrusy soy sauce situation, peanuts, and green onions. Yeah. And you're like, I don't know, that sounds a little weird. Nope, really, just do it. Really good. Eat it. And then comment below and tell me how much you love them, because I love them.
Also going into Danang is the Ha Giang Pass, which I think is a must-do.
Yeah, you really loved the Ha Giang.
I really loved the Ha Giang Pass. It was so cool coming down the mountain and just seeing Danang in the background, like looking like it's floating in the air. Yeah. It was so cool.
There's also Hue.
There's also Hue with the forbidden
with the
city.
abandoned water park.
and the abandoned water park, which was really cool. That's like completely unique experience.
That's a really unique experience. And I'm not sure how much longer it's going to be there because I've heard them talking about government funding to redevelop it.
Yeah.
So it might not be an abandoned water park for too much longer.
No, because there's a huge amount of real estate there.
Yeah. Now, if we go into south, we have Dalat, which is the land of 1,000 waterfalls.
Which is really cool. They have the crazy house.
The crazy house is really cool. It's made by an artist who studied in France, I believe, and then she came back, and she's been working on this house for like her life project. She's in her 70s now, and she still is out doing stuff on this house. It's really cool. You can explore. There's all these like walkways and different things, and you just get to explore it for like a couple hours.
Yeah.
The whole city is really French influenced. So it looks different than everywhere else in Vietnam.
Yeah, it looks like
French.
It looks like straight out of the French. Yeah.
There's a lot of French influence there.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of chateaus and stuff like that.
It's really neat.
Yeah.
And they have a really cool little old train that you can take. We did that. That was really interesting. I liked it. And then they have Maze Bar.
Maze Bar, which is the coolest bar in the world.
It's the coolest bar, yeah.
It's pretty much similar to the Crazy House. You go
except it's a bar.
Except it's a bar. You buy a drink, and it's like a huge maze. We got lost like I don't know how many times we were. Are we in the same spot? No, we weren't. It all looks crazy. It's like little caves and tunnels, and like it's like you're going through a jungle at one point, and then they got a huge like back area where you're up on like way back. I think it's on different building altogether that you somehow get back to it, and you got a view of the whole city from up there.
It's really cool.
It's really
It's like
cool.
a must stop. Like I would go back. Dalat is not my favorite town in Vietnam, or not my favorite city in Vietnam, but I would go back literally for that bar. I love that bar. It's so cool.
It was really, really cool.
Moving even more south, Ho Chi Minh City. This is nightlife. If you want good nightlife, if you want to go out, Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah.
But Ho Chi Minh is like just amazing city. It has a lot of cafe culture. It has a lot of museum culture. It has a lot of historical significance. It has food. It has everything. It's
actually really good for digital nomads. There's a huge amount of work cafes there. And like I think we spent like a week just going to different cafes.
Yeah, we were there for what, 1 week or 2 weeks?
Almost 2.
Almost 2 weeks we were there. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed it there. Also, we crossed the ferry to get there.
That's right. That's how we got there. We got on the boats and we took the ferry in to avoid the motorway. And in the middle of the night, which was kind of nerve-wracking because there's a last ferry, I believe, and we were rushing to get there on time.
Really, we hope we don't get stuck.
Yeah, and it was like 10,000 a person to get across, which is like a little bit under 50 cents. I think.
Yeah, it was really affordable.
It was really affordable.
And it was
takes
worth
about 10 minutes, and
worth it. It skips all the traffic, and it was a cool experience. You ride on your motorcycle. You
don't get off the bike. It's cool.
And then you ride off, and you're going to probably be the only tourist on there. It was an awesome experience. If you go back to Vietnam, which we're going back to Vietnam, just not the foreseeable future that we know of.
No, but at some point we're going to be going back.
We don't know when, but it's going to happen. What would you do?
For me, number 1, Mekong Delta.
Me, number 1, 90-day visa. Number 1, 90-day visa. Duh. I'm not going back to play around.
No.
1 month in the south.
Yeah.
1 month in the middle. 1 month in the north, and then visa run.
And then visa run. For another 90 days.
Okay, really. What is your
No, Mekong Delta is my number 1 thing because I didn't get the chance to go down. We were just a little bit tight for time.
Yeah.
And it takes a little bit. It takes like 3 hours to get there from the Ho Chi Minh. Yeah. Although there is a fast boat that's supposed to save time, but we didn't know about it at the time. I also haven't been to Sapa, which is like all the hiking up in the north, or Ha Long Bay. I didn't get a chance to go to. That's like a month in itself just to do all those 3.
Yeah, especially because the Mekong is opposite.
Yeah.
But Sapa and Ha Long Bay is very doable, like, if you were there for just a little while.
Yeah, and if I was there for a month in the north, I would take my motorbike and just go out away from just the touristy spots, like the Ha Giang Loop. There is more loops out there. There's more trails to do that people don't do. And there's hundreds of them up there that are just as good, and I would love to do that.
Before we were chatting about it, and I think you were right because Ryan was like, "Oh, I'd want to fly in and go south to north next time." And I've done north to south now twice. But I think going from south to north would be good.
Yeah.
I think that maybe
I think that's how most people do it. Most people do.
Most people do go from south to north, but I don't know. I get cheaper flights into Hanoi.
Yeah, and also, but motorbike rentals was cheaper in Hanoi than it was in Ho Chi Minh.
They were cheaper from style, and not much, but a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
So
it's like $20 cheaper or something like that.
Yeah. So if you're renting for a month, that ends up being like $1 difference a day. But hey, that's a bowl of noodles.
Adds up.
That's a bowl of noodles.
It's gas for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you need to share about Vietnam? Or anything else our viewers should know? I think I've shared pretty much everything I know on Vietnam.
I think so.
That I think is important for you to know
before you go.
Yeah. So that's it. If you want more from us, we are on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify at Rangeless_. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
I know it's just a crush. I know it's just a crush. You said hi and I thought, here we go. Can you tell that I am all but sober? Never realized my friends went home. Suddenly you're all I need. just a